new lawsuit filed on the 4th of November against Spotify alleges that Spotify actually recommends big artists through their playlists and recommendations in order to benefit big labels, even though they advertise them as tailored to listeners. So, those little playlists was like specifically for you, not really made for you, it turns out. So this would pretty much be a pay-to-play game where small artists are at a massive disadvantage. And this is why you keep hearing Drake everywhere. Even when you don't want it, you have Drake everywhere, Taylor Swift everywhere, etc. Even if you don't actually like their music, right? And so this is something that honestly, I feel like most of us kind of knew or have been suspecting for a while. That thing where like you play random on your playlist and it's not really random. Like it's the same songs that keep on coming every single time. And so, yes, somebody actually started tracking how often small artists actually get recommended to them. And it seems that big artists from music labels are getting recommended disproportionately more. And so so now they're suing Spotify for deceptive practices and false advertising and some other things. And so the two big issues are it's putting small artists at a disadvantage, and they're also lying to users about the product and how it works, etc. But it's also a little bit frustrating because then the question I wanted to get at the end of the story is, how can we actually discover new music and small artists? Because we were watching the rap show on Netflix a couple of days ago. And so there's all that thing of like, how do you find new music? How can new artists kind of make it and get discovered and get big, etc. And so, yeah, just quick backstory. If you don't know.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the story. Like, who found out? Was it revealed by artists or someone internally at Spotify? Like, how did the whole scheme,
So this is one thing that I think most people have been suspecting for a long time. And so this was started by like a music fan that started actually digging and measuring the recommendations. Here in the article I found, she's called Geneviève Capolongo. I don't know where she's from, but so she's the one I think that started the trial. But this is one of those things where like, if you follow things a little bit on YouTube, etc., like around the music scene, a lot of things were a lot of people were suspecting for a long time. And unrelated, but like there was a bunch of Young Thug interviews that came out recently where he was talking a lot about like how he and many others were buying bots to boost streams, etc. So I'm gonna get back on that later, but yeah. No, but the main thing is that, so if you don't know, Spotify has two types of playlists. So editorial and algorithmic. Editorial playlists, they're like hand curated by what people call tastemakers at the company. Like your job is to put songs on playlists. That's really nice. And the other one is created by recommendation engine just for you. So those are those playlists that they make just for you, right? And it's a huge deal to be in those playlists. So like, for example, the Rap Caviar playlist, it's saved by almost 16 million people. And if you get added in the today's top hits playlist, which is one of the most popular playlists, it can boost your streams by almost 20 million, and it generates around $163,000 for you in royalties. So if your music, it's 60K.
So it makes a huge difference in your career, right? It's just getting put out.
It's a lot of money right away. It's a lot of streams, a lot of visibility, etc. So the lawsuit claims that the labels are paying Spotify to appear on those playlists, and it claims it can cost between $2,000 and $10,000 to appear on a playlist depending on its size. So imagine you pay $10K to get added to the today's top hits, 20 million views instantly, 160K
make back,
more.
Yeah,
like it's a no-brainer, right? Like you would just want to get added there. And they've also disguised like other payments, like they have like what they call consultancy fee. So pretty much an artist can pay a few $100s to make sure pretty much the editors, for example, of Rap Caviar at least listen to yours. That's crazy, no? It's
that's
like
insane.
In the back, it's very shady. So of course, disadvantage for small artists and all these different things, right? But the other big thing is that they're also claiming that big labels are recommending a lot of big artists on purpose. So like Drake, Taylor Swift, etc., because it actually benefits the huge labels which control like huge parts of the catalog on Spotify. So I just wanted to, do you remember like a couple months ago, there was that big fight between Universal, UMG, and TikTok as well. And they pulled a lot of music. So for example, Universal Music Group, they have a couple artists signed, which of course you might know: Taylor Swift, BTS, Drake, Olivia Rodrigo, The Beatles, Billie Eilish, The Weeknd, Bad Bunny, Adele, Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, and many, many more. So if they enter into a fight with UMG and UMG pulls those songs, that's hundreds of billions of views of streams
Spotify and revenue that they don't get, right?
Yeah, Spotify cannot afford to not have these artists on their thing, right? And so this was a great example when those musics were taken out of TikTok. Like you could see how many of these artists were signed to just one label, and so these labels are extremely powerful. So it's in Spotify's best interest to actually recommend them more and have a really good relationship with them. Plus, they also own part of Spotify.
But I think that's kind of the trap as an artist, right? You need a label to get started and to get out there and get the support that you need. But
now less and less, right? Because like you have this movement of independent artists. You have Russ, for example, that's a big face in this movement for independent artists, etc. And they're more and more becoming independent because you see the traps of that game. But you don't have the money as an independent artist, small artist, to pay 10K.
So you're never going to get featured in one of those playlists by accident, or it's just like,
it's really hard to compete, and the whole system is kind of made to work against you almost. And so it gets much deeper than this. There's also many large artists that have been found to be using armies of bots to amplify streams. The Young Thug thing I was talking about, random buttons that aren't really random. Spotify has a feature where artists can accept to be paid less in exchange for being recommended more often. But if I'm already broke, like I need the money, I can't afford that. Also, Spotify allegedly creating and promoting fake AI generated artists so that they can make more money and not pay royalties, so that they own the music themselves, and a lot more shady stuff. But just one quote I wanted to add at the end from one of the lawyers defending the lawsuit, which is called Inessa Huat. She said,
so it's all allegedly, right? We don't.
Yeah, we have to see what happens. It's from last week.
Yeah.
The lawsuit, they started suing them last week.
Yeah.
But so even settling the deception aside, Spotify's business model has made true personalization impossible. The platform's systemic preference for major label artists creates a feedback loop that amplifies their visibility and entrenches their dominance. So aside from just Spotify not being as good as we seem and lying to users, etc., and also the problem for small artists, but we could do like a 2-hour podcast just on that. The question I had is, how do we find great music? How do you actually find new music aside from Spotify?
I think for me, it's a real struggle, right? Usually, exactly, like I would go on YouTube or Spotify, listen to an artist I like, and then there's always like more like this artist, or I just wait for randomness to strike me with nice music. Like, sometimes I do these enhanced playlists, or on YouTube when I listen to music, like sometimes you get random stuff put in there, and I was just like, oh, I really like that. And then I would just end up listening to more. When I was at uni, or you're constantly with people listening to music together and stuff like that, you would just get recommendations from other people. But now I don't have that lifestyle anymore, so I barely ever get recommended music. So
do you actually get a lot of good new music from like the Spotify random enhanced thing?
Sometimes, actually, it happens from time to time. Sometimes it's just random stuff, or just
small artists, or like when you click on it, they all already have like millions of monthly listeners already.
Not really, because I listen to mostly small artists. So usually they would recommend like the same artist that did a feature with another artist that is the same level of fame. Exactly.
Okay.
So for me, it works quite okay, especially on YouTube. Like I get recommended music that has 30 views constantly, and it's pretty good. But sometimes it's also hard to filter. The fact that a music is popular is also kind of a filter that it's nice, people like it. Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes when I start digging into those playlists with like 30, 50 monthly listeners, it's really hard to find music that you actually enjoy listening to.
I guess that's one of the problems as well, because like if artists can actually buy fake streams, because as you said, if you see a song and it only has like 10,000 streams, like probably not such a good song, and so you can buy those first 500,000 streams, and then it grows naturally from there, and it's enough to get added to playlists, etc. So sometimes, and I'm starting to wonder, like, is this song that is on this playlist that has 750,000 streams, do people actually like it or not?
But how did it work beforehand, right? Even before Spotify, you kind of had to get in one way or another, right?
Like
the radio or shows directly or stuff like that. But then now that we have Spotify and those massive platforms to stream, of course there's more competition. There's like millions of other options, so you've got to stand out more. You need to mark your way.
Competition, a lot more artists, etc.
Exactly.
But I went and I was gonna make this into a game, but maybe for next time. Like trying to make you guess who are the top 10 artists right now on Spotify, and like they're all names you know at least. If you go into the top 50, I probably don't know half of them.
Yeah.
But I clicked, for example, on Ariana Grande, and I was you have the top 10 most popular.
Mm.
I clicked on some of those songs. I was like, they all have like 1 billion plus views, right?
Mm.
I don't know any of them.
Yeah,
like
that's
I've
crazy.
never even heard any of them. Like maybe it's not for me, maybe I'm not the audience, but it's crazy that one of the most popular songs right now, and they also have the top 100 songs right now. Like I don't know those songs.
You never heard them, right? But it's just about the fact that, I mean, it's shady and it's shitty and everything. But the thing that makes me think also about this fact that I read about. So I did this video about how the US government sponsored modern art during the Cold War.
Was the CIA, right?
Yeah, and it was like all hidden behind this agency, and they were just like directly financing the exhibitions and the museums and the artworks without the artist's knowledge. So they had no clue that the government was sponsoring them, and that's the reason why their work ended up being out there. And the thing is that it also happened with music, and the US government was also sponsoring a lot of music that started like in the 1950s, 1960s. You've got a lot of Ray Charles, for example. I remember that's one of the examples that stuck with me, where I was like, no, it could never happen, that's not possible. But then, they still had their hands into it. And like all the way, there's always one biased way that
So how do you know this music is actually good or it's actually popular? How do you trust these things?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really hard, I think. And that's why I feel like for a lot of artists, it's really important to build authenticity. Like on content platforms, you have to show who you are. You have to show your journey, like your way of thinking, the things that you're creating, so people can actually follow you for who you are. And it happened to me quite recently. I think I was listening to this random like old school blues, whatever, like playlist on YouTube. And, there's like these 2 hours long video where they put a lot of songs into it. And I was just really vibing. I was like, oh, this is really cool. I never heard that song before.
Was it AI?
And I started digging and it was all AI generated, but it was so well done and hidden. And I was like so confused. I was like, I really enjoyed that playlist, like that music and the way it sounded. But then I was like, I'm not going to support that. But the thing is that you have less and less ways of knowing, especially, with these random playlists, like who am I listening to? It doesn't matter. I'm working or I'm, background music style. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard.
Can I go into my little tangent real quick?
Yeah, sorry.
Because this thing you said with the AI music is like, there's a book that came out recently exactly about this topic with Spotify, where like they call it the, what was it? The radio machine or something like that, where pretty much like Spotify's goal almost is actually to devalue music so that you don't actually pay attention to the music. Their ideal customer is somebody that just kind of like presses play and just puts on like some random songs so that they can fill these like a good morning chill vibe playlist, for example, with lots of fake songs from fake artists that they own, for example, and they can make and so keep they make more. And so then the question is like, in a world right now where every song, every video, everything pretty much is generated by AI and could be generated by AI, and especially understanding that most of us actually, there's a couple songs I really love and I sing along to, etc. But like AI generated songs are actually pretty good, and also we just put songs on just when we're running or when we're working, etc. You're not always actually listening to it.
Elevator music or
elevator music. How do you actually stand out as a human artist? And it seems that at some point the final result of what you can do is actually not enough, because AI can copy exactly your song and maybe even do everything you can do and better than you. The only thing that remains is the human aspect, like the actual story of why did you do this song? How did you do it? The process, who are you, etc. But the actual final song itself is just a song on my playlist. It's just elevator music, And like I might love it, I might not, I might sing along to it, etc. And I think the Drake versus Kendrick beef was a good example. Where like it's not even about the song itself; it's about everything behind it.
Yeah, and you start about caring about the people themselves and their story and how they got there. It's like really
was into it.
The hero's journey almost, where you're just trying to
So you have to be almost more human than you've ever been and be as human as possible.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I just don't care about your song. It's just a song in my playlist. Last little thing. I'm surprised you said YouTube over Spotify for discovering music.
I'm not sure if that's popular or not, but I don't know. Yeah. That's how Usually I just play random videos or podcasts or stuff while I work or while I do other things, like while I'm crafting, for example. And that's how I discover music. So
nice. I saw that there's more views on YouTube Shorts than on TikTok right now. I think this was like announced a couple days ago by the YouTube CEO. And there's more people listening to podcasts and more podcast hours listened to, let's say, on YouTube than on Spotify as well. So YouTube is kind of killing it. YouTube is becoming the go-to place for everything.
How does YouTube sponsor things? How do they make those recommendations? The matching algorithms.
We'll see in the next podcast.
It's going to be interesting. Okay. All right.